Welcome back, race fans, to Rauscher Racing Weekly. I'm Evan Rauscher, driver of the 07.
I'm Blake Rauscher, driver of the 3R.
And I'm Brent Rauscher, driver of the 16.
This week on Rauscher Racing Weekly, we're going to talk about my dad and my uncle, and we have some other familiar faces that we have on the show every once in a while. We got my grandma and my mom coming back on, and my Aunt Sam this week.
And here's a word from our sponsors.
Wherever the world may take you, choose Christensen Automotive.
Welcome back, race fans. As the boys said in the opening, we're going to take a look at when myself started racing back in 2002 to when Derek started racing a couple years later in a pure stock class. I think the first cars when you're going to see in the video is probably some of my first car was a 78 Olds Cutlass, just a freaking land yacht that didn't hardly move. We busted our butts on that thing, making it go as fast as we thought it could go, or get it as fast as we could get it. We thought we were really, really moving at times. And you'll see in some of the videos that the racing that we do in real life, you're actually a lot faster than these videos show. But
we are. The videos really slow everything down. But I started racing in 2004 in the pure stock class. I don't even know what year it was a Ford Mustang too. I don't even know what year it was.
Yeah, I don't know either, honestly.
But that was my start into racing after helping him all the time on his first car. Once he decided he was going to go racing, I was at his house through the week, every weekend, staying the night. He'd drop me off at school, pick me up, and we'd go back out and work on the race car some more. So that's really how it all got rolling for me for wanting to race, was being around him and the first hobby stock, and then you built the new hobby stock.
Yeah,
that wasn't a land yacht.
Yeah, the first car I had was, if you remember last week, my mom and my aunt talking about Aunt Linda racing. The first car I had was actually Aunt Linda's car. I had to take it from their house, from Fernley. I brought it out to Cold Springs, and we had to do a lot of work because my Aunt Linda's about 4 foot tall, and I'm a little over 6 foot. So, I mean, I had to do some work to be able to move the seat back so I could fit in the darn thing. But like Derek said, he was out there day and night with us, getting dirty, having fun. It was a blast. And then we ran the red and black car for a year, and then we sold it back to I think it was Kathy's boyfriend at the time. But from there, then we built I think it was an 80-something Pontiac Grand Prix that I built from scratch. Bent the pipe myself, everything. Boy, that was a learning curve, figuring out where the bars should go, where they shouldn't go. But that was a lot of work.
How to figure out how to contort your body to weld all the bars.
Yeah, that was the hardest part. And then, believe it or not, when we first started building that car, we had a stick welder that we were putting it together with, and then we were like, man, that's a bunch of crap. Dad went out and bought a little Lincoln MIG welder, and ever since then, man, we've been building cars ever since then. Honestly, for not just for us but for others. But
I think we've built every car we've ever raced, other than your last car. You got it as a bare chassis, and same with mine.
Yeah, the current car that I have at home, you'll see in the car that I won a championship with is an old IMCA Harris modified is what it was. That car had won track championships and IMCA championships with Nick Rogers driving it for Grandpa Rogers way back in the day. I still, what is that car? 2004, I think. I still have that car currently in the garage waiting for an engine and a front bumper. Really is all that thing needs to go racing. But
my last car that you get to see me flip, it was a 2014 Joe Carr IMCA modified chassis that we had used to run the pro stock class with, which it was a lot of fun. It took a lot of work to make all the pro stock stuff work, because we don't run bird cages like IMCA, so it was a lot of trying to figure out the bar angles and everything to get it right to be able to run the pro stock class and fit the big tires and everything in it. But that car is currently at the scrapyard because it wasn't worth saving.
Yeah, that was definitely a gnarly tumble that I seen on the videos. I wasn't there at the track, but
Blake was, and he was as white as a ghost when I finally made it back from one end of the track back to the pit area. So
right.
it was a rough ride. It was. I think I'm the only one that's ever flipped other than Blake in the family. You've had some hard hits.
I've had some hard hits where I've shaken the wall and the stands at Fernley. But I think honestly, yeah, you and I think all the boys have gone over.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been the only one smart enough to keep all 4 tires on the ground, but it happens. Maybe I'm just not driving hard enough. I don't know. We'll figure it out someday when I get back in the car. But
so let's take a look at some of the pictures and some of the videos we have of the cars of you coming up through and kind of where I started and where I ended.
yeah, I think there's some pictures of Uncle Pete's first race car in there, or not. I can't even say his first race car. The first one I was around that I mentioned last week in the video where he got glass in his eye and the good stuff. And that silly helmet I think's in the picture that Uncle Pete had to have on his head to take a picture with me. I love that thing.
Sponsored by Northfield Chiropractic, Rauscher Racing, and Big Daddy Cassie from Reno, Nevada, with Rauscher. And those Serenos are winning. Everybody over there with the 22R Derek Rauscher. Well, that's something you do not want to see a car flip over as sadly as that on the 20.
How'd you like that? You could see the progression for both of us through that videos. And like we said, the videos do the speed no justice. I mean, even my pure stock, I felt like I was going really fast, which is probably slower than what we go on the freeway now.
Right. Yeah, I remember giving you a hard time back in the day. You're like, hey, Dave, you want to drive my car? I'd be like, no, I didn't bring a newspaper and a sack lunch, so I ain't got that much time to get around the tracks. But yeah, those are pretty cool. Like I said, you got to see Uncle Pete's car, and I think in the picture it's him with his trophy from his Trophy Dash win that I remember, and we got to see a win of yours.
Yeah.
In the video is in 2014 of me when I won the championship that year, my one and only championship. I think that's the first year I actually started winning races. Granted, car count was down, but you know who was there, we were beating them, so that was kind of fun. But
Yeah. And I think it's cool that you ended up with a Pro Stock championship, and I ended up with a championship in the same class in 2016.
right, yeah, and I think the year when I won the championship, I think both the boys won their championships. Evan won a beginner championship, I think, and Blake won the box stock championship all at Fernley, like all in the same night.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool year.
Yep.
So, you know, and then you won a championship as a crew chief because he crew chief for me that year. And
And we changed a lot of broken parts.
we did. The year before, we broke a lot of stuff then, but the year before that, Dave Schnepp put together a hell of an engine for me, and we broke everything that connected to the chassis. That thing made some power its first couple of years before we started. You know, we were running 20 races a year or whatever it was, but
Yep.
But yeah, so now that you've seen that and you get to see what we do and what, you know, that's our life. Like I said, it's not a hobby for us anymore. Now that the boys are doing it, I think we spend more time out in the garage now, but
Oh yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's not a hobby.
right.
You turn it into a lifestyle. You eat, breathe, and sleep it. All three of the boys do.
Yeah.
So we're always out tinkering. How can we figure out to go faster? Tires, gears.
Yeah.
How much more can we push the motor? How much more can we yell at the boys to go faster?
Right, exactly. And as I always preaching to my boys, we got to get out in the shop. That's where championships are won. The fun is had at the racetrack. Championships are won in the garage.
It's all in the prep.
Yeah, it's all in the hard work. So the payoff is just Saturday afternoons at the track. So, but now that you've seen a look at what we did and where we came from, let's take a quick break and have a word from our sponsors, and we'll come back with Mom's Corner.
Welcome back to Rauscher Racing Weekly for Mom's Corner. I'm Samantha Rauscher.
I'm Nancy Rauscher.
I'm Kim Rauscher.
This week we have the youngest boy's grandma and David and Derek's mom with us again. She's going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to be a mom in the stands. And then Kim and I talk to you about what it's like to be a wife in the stands.
As you had seen in some of the pictures and the boys talking and things, kind of taking a trip back on memory lane and family and racing. Starting out with my brother-in-law's racing, my husband in the pits and things. And then David, of course, he was the one that started it for the next generation. And with taking Derek to the racetrack and such, David started, I believe, in 2002 with his racing with the hobby stock. And then Derek, of course, was out in the pits helping David all the time and working on the race car. And both of them just really seemed to enjoy racing. Derek's dad came in one day and he says, I think we ought to get Derek started in this. I don't know that he'll really like it though. And I said, well, I don't know that that's a good thing. And he goes, that's okay. He'll be all right. And so I said, all right, against my better judgment. And come to find out, Derek absolutely loved racing. So then I had my daughter-in-laws that I kind of brought them into that. Neither one, Kim nor Sam, knew anything much about racing. So as a young wife, Kim came along with me to the track, and here we were. We're sitting in the stands, and I kind of passed the torch off to her, and now she's watching her kids race. And same thing happened with Samantha. She came in, knew nothing, so Kim and I go, come on, Sam, we're going to teach you. And so then Samantha came in, and now she's being a mom. So both of my daughter-in-laws are now moms and watching their kids race. And me being the grandma, I get to watch the boys, all three of my grandsons race, and I have a great time.
Well, yeah, that's really great memory there. My first date with David was actually to a racetrack. I think he was feeling that out just a little bit, just to see if I did like racing. So that was our first date. We spent a lot of dates there at the track. We had our daughter, and he come in and told me, he goes, I really want to build a race car. It's not going to cost that much. Relatively speaking, yes, now looking back, it didn't cost that much. But when we started, new family, it cost a lot. So that's where we started. And then all of my kids raised at the track and having a good time out there, watching their dad race and their uncle race, both of their uncles race. It was a great time.
Mm-hmm. I think all of our kids were at the racetrack before they were 6 months old. Or right around that age. So it's been diapers on out. We potty trained right in the stands, fed them all day in the stands. It's been an experience. We've traveled quite a bit. We've made a lot of memories. Later on, Derek kind of continued racing when David took a step back so that the boys could race. That didn't mean that we didn't travel as a family. Sometimes our nephews either both go or they pick one to go, and if we were going out of state, they went with us. So Blake's been into California with us, Evan's been up into Oregon with us, and watching Derek race as a wife, not always my fondest moments, but or my most well-behaved moments either. Watching both of them on the track has been kind of neat. Again, it was almost like a Blake and Evan situation. Sometimes I could film one and not the other, and sometimes we could keep together and do it. We've also held a few memorials at the racetrack. Those were fond moments to us. You'll see a photo in the video, which is actually of Kim and I's father-in-law. The boys go out, and the pro stock, one of them is in front of it, and they kind of do a memorial lap around the track. That was a good moment for us, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes, I think Marissa was the oldest one at the track. I think she was 2 when we started racing. We spent all of our time there. I want to say the boys were relatively young. Blake was 8 years old. Evan was around 6 years old. They saw the outlaw carts in the middle of the track during intermission and said, I want that. So David and I sat down, had that conversation, and we decided Mom was going to go back to work full time and put the kids in race cars, and been doing that ever since. They absolutely enjoy it. The boys have all hung out together. Brent would come and watch the boys race before he raced. They were there when Brent did his first laps on the track, and watched him do his first race. So it was a lot of great memories. So I don't know if I could say we would ever do anything different. I'm glad we are a racing family. even on the hard days. You know, when you're at the track and tempers are flaring and all that good stuff. But it is the memories that my kids can't replace. Is they have seen their whole families and everybody's grown up together at the racetrack.
And now as a grandma, as far as watching my grandsons race, seeing Blake, Evan, and Brent out there, they have now pulled grandma out into the pits. I was never in the pits when my brother-in-laws were racing. I was not in the pits when my boys were racing. I was there a short time, but before racing started, I would always go to the stand, and that was quite an experience as a mom, watching two of my sons out there. Derek at first in the pure stocks, and then having David in the hobby stocks. It can kind of get to you. And then along comes with the grandsons and their kart racing. Grandma's now in the pits, so I'm there. I give them the thumbs up, I give them the hugs, I give them the knuckles for them to go out on the track.
She's still not changing the oils or working on the cars. We haven't gotten that far yet. Sam and I, we do work on the cars. We help out as much as we can. We help the boys get in the cars. We're definitely down at the trailer buying the parts.
Yeah,
that's our main purpose there when we're at the track. So
and during the week, our conversation is, what do we want to make for dinner this week? We don't want to spend $40 at fast food McDonald's every week. So what is the meal we're going to make and split? And so sometimes Kim and I will kind of potluck it, but have an idea of what we're bringing and feed our mini army. So
makes it easier that way.
Yeah.
Definitely being able to do that. You spend to eat at the track, yeah, it's okay sometimes, but that food gets old and it gets expensive, honestly, when you're feeding a family of 4 and 5. It does get pricey. So bringing that meal to the track, it makes it a lot easier.
Next week, we are back at the racetrack for a few weeks, and then shortly after that, we are going to bring you into the first start of the boys' career and how they've developed as drivers. So you will shortly get to see some of their first laps, some of their hard knocks, and certainly some of their trophies that line all of our walls.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great memories, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad to be able to hand the torch now down to my daughter-in-laws so that I can just be there and watch the grandsons go and have fun. And hopefully we're going to be winning some races this year.
Heck yeah, that's what we all want.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week at Rauscher Racing Weekly.